Hi, everyone. This is Hal Crosman with Screenwriting U, and today we're going to talk about how to get your scripts to producers. Now, this is something, the reason we're talking about it today is because the industry has just reopened and there are some changes that are going on. So today we're going to talk about why this moment is different. Then 5 strategies to break into the industry. So I want to make sure that you have something you can use immediately. I'll give you a strategy to take advantage of this moment because it's important. There are a lot of people who will continue standing on the sidelines and later on wish they hadn't. So you won't have that problem. And then we'll talk about the upcoming class, Writing Incredible Movies, for those of you who really do want to be seen as an incredible writer and want a real chance at having producers go, oh my God, I have to work with this writer. So the current picture. The film TV industry's been on hold for 14 months. Now, you know this. We went through the WGA strike, then the SAG-AFTRA strike, then the IATSE negotiations, then the Teamster negotiations, and finally made a deal, right? Each one of them, they actually made deals, but they were holding each other up. So the deals have been made. The industry now is back in business. Yes, there are still some other minor conflicts going on out there, but they aren't necessarily part of your world if you're trying to sell screenplays. So the good news is there's tremendous need for new content. Now, think about this. As you're sitting down to watch television last night or the night before, uh, did you have that issue that I think everybody is having, which is, wow, almost everything here that I'd be interested in I've already seen. And we've had very, very few new shows, new movies that have shown up really in the last couple of years. Uh, so it's kind of been a sad situation, but the beautiful thing is this: it created a major need. So question is, what's the need that is happening right now in this industry that you can benefit from? So first, the streamers. The streamers have a lot of urgency going on right now, and you may not have heard about very much of it, but don't worry about that. It just all comes kind of down to this one thing. They need to regain their position before the competition does. And this includes Netflix. Netflix was so far ahead before everything got shut down. But now it's like, really, if you look at Netflix at the present moment, you've probably exhausted most of the shows that you want to see. So they're feeling like they're kind of back to square one on that. Every one of the streamers needs to get new subscribers and they need to keep their current subscribers. Since the pandemic, they have lost a lot of subscribers. During the pandemic, a lot of people were, had signed up for 4 or 5 different streamers and were paying the monthly fees and all of that kind of thing. Once the pandemic was over, or, what happened basically was people started going, okay, I don't need this one. I don't need this one. I don't need that one. So the majority of the people are signed up for 2 when they used to be signed up for 5. Now think about how much money that has cost this particular industry. So they have a serious need. There's an urgency for producers. And for producers, it's like this: the streamers need projects, the producers want those deals. But let's just get a little more clear on that. These producers have pretty much been out of business for the last 14 months, which has seemed like 14 years. And if, it's like everybody wants to get back to work. And that includes producers. It's like you don't usually hear the part about producers, and I'm talking small producers, mid-level producers, and studio producers. You don't usually hear about them. They're not really part of the strikes, especially the small producers and some of the mid-level producers. But those people have been out of business this whole time, and they want to benefit as much as possible from this need. So that means they're looking for projects, right? And for writers, here's the urgency. Producers are going to be obsessively searching for projects, and it'll start this week. It's actually already been going on. There have been deals that have been made over the last couple of weeks, including a bidding war that was huge. So things were starting to come back to normal, but this week now, this industry starts the reopening process. And that means producers are going to be looking for projects like crazy. Opportunity number one is the producer feeding frenzy. If you can get projects to producers now, you're in great shape. By the way, this will be going on for the next 3 to 9 months. So if you don't have something right this moment that is highly marketable, that is something you can easily get producers excited about, well, it's okay. Just go through the process of writing a project that is designed to be pitched into this environment. And that's, by the way, that's how I'm thinking. That's how all the writers that I work with, that's what I'm telling them right now. And I guess we'll talk about that here in just a minute. So opportunity number two is to sell your most marketable scripts. Now, by the way, this producer feeding frenzy is going to do two things for you. This can make it easier for you to get things in the door and to start to build relationships with producers. This is one of the outcomes that is possible also, is that you sell your most marketable scripts. And let me give you a distinction here that will help you. Don't look at your, let's say you've written 5 scripts. Don't look at them and go, oh, I want all 5 of them to sell. Because the question really is this: the most marketable. You are getting a chance to introduce yourself to producers. If you introduce yourself with your most marketable script, in their world, that's valuable. If you hand them a script that's not marketable, they're going to count you out and maybe not talk with you again. So please, this is incredibly important. If you've written 5 scripts and only one of them is marketable, that's the one you go out with. And then all those producers that you went out to, they're now part of your network. You come back to them when you have your next marketable script. Opportunity 3 is getting paid writing assignments. Producers aren't just going to be buying scripts. They also have come up with a bunch of ideas during this last 14 months. And those ideas are just sitting there. So there is the possibility of getting writing assignments and being able to be paid to write something that a producer is going to want to produce, which could give you a better chance at having your first movie produced. So basic launch plan. Recognize the moment. That's the first thing. There are people who are in denial about this. You'll see a lot of people on Twitter that even today will be talking about how bad the industry is. And what they're really talking about is 2 weeks ago. And they just haven't noticed. They haven't recognized that there's a change going on, because it's still difficult for them, right? They've been out of work for 14 months. So I feel for them. Every one of those writers who's saying how painful it is for them right now, it's just that this series of strikes and negotiations went on way longer than everybody thought it would. but it's over now. So recognize the moment. Don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the people who are still in pain. This is your moment, and it's okay to feel bad for them, but this is your moment to step in and do something. And here's what you do. Choose your most marketable projects. Do the prep work, whatever it is. Improve your pitch. Elevate the quality of your script. Put together a list of producers and managers. We have lots of strategies for that kind of thing. And then go to market, right? And your objective is to either option or sell a script, to get a paid writing assignment, and or to land a manager or agent. So it's a simple process, but it starts with recognizing this moment. It's like we've all been asleep for a long time. And now it's time to wake up. And it's time to say yes to moving forward, and say yes to making something happen. Say yes to taking a risk and starting to put some projects out there, right? It's just the right time for you to go into action. So let me give you some strategies here. First one, get your vision back. And again, when you look at the people who are still complaining about the industry, they haven't gotten their vision back yet. And that may cost them. So don't listen to that stuff at all. What you want to do, again, recognize the possibility. Know this: when a major change is happening, success comes from embracing the change. So I would do that. I would just, and this is what we're doing. I would just say, all right, this thing is happening. It's time to embrace it. Let's see. Let's go in the direction it's going. Already deals are starting to happen. We've already got writers who have made deals in the last week. So it's absolutely possible for something great to happen for you. Choose to create your future. Don't be stuck in the past. Let's let that go. Give yourself the freedom to go on this journey, and then select the best projects. So this is, again, incredibly important. What you're looking for is this: your best pitch. So let's say you look through your 5 projects or 10 or however many you've written, or 2 maybe. Just write it out. Genre, title, high concept. All you're looking for is, do you have a good pitch? Genre, title, high concept, right? So like, for instance, here, I'll give you one that we had at one point. I have a thriller titled The Counterfeit Billionaire, and it's the true story of the man who counterfeited more money than anyone in US history, and he began at age 14. So that's our genre, title, high concept. It's short and to the point. I didn't tell you any character names. I didn't tell you any backstories. I didn't tell you anything. All I told you was these 3 things. If your title is strong, if your high concept is strong, you're in business. Now, though, usually then, when I was pitching on the phone before, at this point, if I just said those 3, almost always I'd either get a request or they would say, sorry, that's not for us. And either one's okay. I'm there to establish a relationship for the future. So I just say, all right, thanks for taking the time to listen. Is it okay if I come back to you with my next project? And they would say yes, because I was precise, to the point. And I gave them something that was at least interesting. We got, like the one I was just telling you about, I can't remember how many. I think we had like 25 script requests on that one from pretty big producers. We ended up making a deal with one. And that was what sold it. And then the writing confirmed it was a great story. Now, by the way, if you're doing a pitch in person or on Zoom or something like that, you'll say those things and then pause, and then you'll follow that with the transformational journey of your lead character. Make that incredibly compelling, really interesting. make sure that you tell it through the most interesting moments. And you got a chance, right? The second thing to do, remember we're selecting our best projects here, is go to your highest quality writing. What's the project that has the best writing? I would be looking for best pitch first, then highest quality writing. With your highest quality writing, I'd do everything I could to create a strong pitch like this. If what you have is you have something that you've written that is hard to pitch in this format and you feel like you have to tell the whole story, I'd try to find some, some set of comparables. This meets that. That makes it easy for them to get it. And then the third group is to look at what script could be great if it was rewritten. Now, what we've done is we've divided your projects into 3 categories here. The one that has the best pitches, that's what I'd be leading with. My second choice would be this, if I can come up with a strong pitch. When you're talking to producers, if you don't have a strong pitch, don't pitch it. Because producers are pitching all the time. They honor a pitch. The pitch tells them if they can get funding, if they can sell it, if they can get a studio involved or a distributor. So the pitch is what's most important to a producer. And then the script follows that up. But this third one then gives you the option, if you have a script that it has a good pitch, but needs to be rewritten, take the time and do that. It's worth it. Even though we're kind of in an urgent situation right now, something that you could benefit from, if you need to take 3 to 6 months to end up with some great stuff that you can pitch, this industry will still be going gangbusters at that point. So then the job is to get your pitches in front of producers and managers. And I'll give you some ways to do that, but basically, if you already have a producer network, you go out to them. And this is going to depend on who you are. For people who have already been in the industry, you likely have a producer network. You just go back to them, right? If you're somebody who's been through some of our classes where we marketed aggressively, we built a producer network in those classes. So those people have a producer network. Just go out to those producers. Either way, then you use whatever strategy works for you. Let me give you some others here. You can email query letters or mail query letters. There are, I have to say this, there are some people out there who will tell you query letters don't work. And when I've looked at their query letters, I instantly knew why they didn't work for them. So your job when you're writing a query letter is not to pack in as many details as you can. You are not writing a book report. Your job is to write something that is incredibly interesting, that will hook a producer and represents your project. So it should be short and to the point. It should be the most interesting things you could possibly say about this script. And it's done in a way that makes it easy to read. The people who try to write book reports and tell as much as they can, they do really poorly with query letters. So, and it's just because of the strategy they used. So making phone calls. I just told you about one of the projects that we made a deal on by making phone calls. When we were producing, that was how we got almost all of our projects in the door. Was we would call, our entire phone call would last 45 seconds to 1 minute. I'm not trying to give them more information. I'm trying to, all I'm doing is presenting, here's the high concept you will use to sell this project. So short, to the point, and have fun. Online networking. If you know producers on Twitter, on Instagram, on any other social network. You can do that. There's a lot of producers who are also on LinkedIn that you could connect with. Doing Zoom pitches. These are face-to-face pitches on Zoom. If you already have a network, and you want to pitch face-to-face, or you want to use this as a chance to get face-to-face, I'd go out to the network, either through email or phone calls. And then once they say yes, you can do a Zoom pitch, or you can just specifically in your request form, when you send out your query letter, you could just say, and I'd love to talk with you on Zoom if you have any questions or that kind of thing. But there's also a couple of different places that do Zoom pitches. Most of them, you're in a 5 to 7 minute long pitch. A couple of places I know, Roadmap Writers and Stage 32, both do Zoom pitches. And you'll have to look to them to see what their prices are on those. Then if you're at a hub, which would be like Los Angeles, New York City, if you're in Canada, it would either be Toronto or Vancouver. If you're in the UK, probably talking London. If you're at a hub, you can do in-person meetings. Also, if you're meeting with producers that are local, you can do in-person meetings. So, wherever you live, there's probably some producers in your neighborhood, or at least in your city, that have made deals. They may not be the huge ones, but what these do is these give you a chance to sit down face to face to kind of practice doing those meetings, to build relationships locally, and you never know. I interviewed a writer at one point that was an A-list writer, and he said the way it happened was he met with a small producer in his hometown. They made a small movie together that no one ever heard of. And then that producer got a big deal here in Los Angeles. And the only writer he'd ever worked with was that one. So he called him up and said, hey, I've got this deal with the studio. Can you write me a draft of the script and see if we can get you a job? And they did. So, and then once you've gone out to these people, just if they've requested your script and they have it, just follow up consistently. And consistently means, maybe you wait 2 weeks to a month. And this is, by the way, if I'm doing phone pitches and the producer says yes, the first thing I say is, when should I follow up? And I ask that question. That's a professional question, by the way. I have asked it of about 100 producers that we got scripts into. I asked that question because they're all going to answer differently. There are some producers who are going to say, give me 2 weeks. And I'll say, okay, I'll call you 2 weeks on Monday. And I'll put it in my calendar, right? There are some that'll say, give me a call back day after tomorrow. Now, believe it or not, if your concept is high enough, if it's interesting enough, they're going to feel some urgency because they want to read it before somebody else does. But you just listen to what the producer says. If they say 2 weeks, if they say a month, if they say, 2 days, whatever it is, you just call back then. And then you just kind of consistently check in thereafter. The one thing you don't want to do, please don't do this. Don't ever act like you're a collection agency. They don't owe you anything. So what I do, I'm willing to come back to them. Like at one point I was doing every 2 weeks. And on some producers, they immediately read the script and called me back. Some producers took 6 weeks before they read the script. And it's okay. Whenever it is fine. You're just moving things forward. Number 4, set up the possibility of writing assignments. Now, for some of you, this might be something that you've never thought of. Oh, they could hire me to write a script for them. We have, here, if you've either done a writing assignment before, or if you've gone through our paid writing assignment class, these things are easy to set up. It's actually much easier to get a paid writing assignment than it is to sell a script. So what we have a whole bunch of strategies we use, but let me just make them really simple here. Anytime a producer responds to a pitch or your script, just add this one sentence. By the way, I'm available if you ever need a script written or rewritten. And really, I would say don't do this unless you've gone through our writing assignment class. I'm not trying to pitch that right now, but the writing assignment class gives you everything you need to know to be able to work with producers and to come across as a pro. Once you've done something like that, then just add this to any response. Anytime a producer responds, if they come back and say, sorry, this script isn't for us. We have had this happen 20 times at least. I had a writer call me up one day and she said, producer requested my script. I sent it to him. He was the one producer I wanted to work with. He came back and passed on it 4 days later. And I said, okay, what if you did this? She'd been through the writing assignment class. And I said, just email him back and say, thank you for taking the time to read my script. I really appreciate that. By the way, I'm available if you ever need a script written or rewritten. He called her up 2 days later and he says, I've been thinking about that. And I do have a project that I kind of like your voice for. And she ended up doing a paid writing assignment on it. It wasn't a big deal. I think she got paid $25,000, but she got paid $25,000 to write a script. And now she is a paid writer who has done a writing assignment with a producer. And so her life has changed in that situation. She now has been through the process of working with a producer. She knows what she's doing, and she can tell other producers that she did a paid writing assignment with a producer. So you do need to know what you're doing, and you do need to have high quality writing, just those two things. All right. Number 5, use every interaction to build your network. And this is the way pros look at at what they're doing when they're marketing a script. It's not just the one outcome. I'm not just trying to get a script request. I'm not just trying to sell my script. I'm doing something beyond that. So building a network is about connecting in a way that causes a producer to see you as someone they want to work with, right? That's all. And all it takes is for them to see a professional level pitch or a professional quality script, and that you've got good ideas. Once they see that, then from that point on, you can go back to them with project after project after project, as long as it fits and makes sense in their world. So the easiest way to build a network, again, is pitching quality projects. I have, there are a lot of people who are networking in kind of the old-fashioned way, which is okay. They'll go to events and meet producers there. If you're not pitching them some kind of project, or you don't pitch them some kind of project soon after you meet them, I'd say you're not quite there yet. It's like you're not trying to find a friend here. You're trying to find somebody who will make your movies from now on, kind of thing. So at some point, you need to pitch them a quality project so that they can start to see that you are in the ballpark. You are in their game and you understand it. So this is where, by the way, it's like the quality of your pitch and the quality of your projects makes a difference, and it establishes credibility for who you are. So it's important. Uh, you know, you can easily, by the way, you can build a strong network even if producers are saying no. Uh, we had producers who said no to us multiple times on projects, and then all of a sudden one day they said yes. Uh, almost every deal that we made, we made a deal like early on. And then it was like 4 scripts later, we made the second deal. And then 6 scripts after that, we made the third one. And then that one caused a whole bunch of producers to hear about it. And then all of a sudden things started happening. So most of our network was built from producers who said no. So this isn't a bad thing. There are people who say, oh, I got rejected and all that kind of stuff. Listen, they're just being dramatic. A producer, well, here's what's really interesting to me. The first time I had a producer turn me down on a script, I went back and I had adopted the thing that these other writers had said of it's a rejection. And my wife, Cheryl, who was also pitching with me, she's like, there was no rejection. He just said the project wasn't for him. She goes, that doesn't mean anything. We'll go back to him. And what I found out, once I got over that whole thing, once I stopped making up that drama in my head and I stopped believing it from other writers, it was no big deal. We would go out with a project to 30 producers, and all we're looking for is one yes. That's all. And so that was all that mattered in that situation. All the no's, as long as we acted professionally and we interacted with them professionally, they're going to listen to us in the next pitch and the next one and the next one and the next one. What you don't want to do is if somebody says no, don't have an emotional reaction right then. Like if they say, oh, I'm sorry, this project isn't for us. And you go, oh God, I'm so disappointed, right? It's like, that's not what a pro does. What a pro does on that is they go, no problem, I'll come back to you with the next one. Thanks for taking the time. And they move on, right? And they don't make the other person feel guilty. They don't worry about anything. They don't go into any kind of emotional depression. It is not a big deal. It's like taking a project out if it's the right one. Even if everybody says no to it, you just built a stronger reputation for you by the way you responded and because you brought in a strong project. So you're good. You did something amazing here that will make it 10 times easier for them to say yes at some point in the future. And that's what our job is. Now, let me just go back through. This is like the one I did earlier, but just basic writing career plan. First, again, recognize the need. Then you're going to either create highly marketable projects or you're going to find the highly marketable projects. Again, we're talking high concept, great roles for actors, and recommend on coverage. That's what I mean by a highly marketable project. You can pitch it in one sentence. And when it comes to the roles, if they say, well, do you have a strong role for an actor or an actress? Yes, and you can pitch that role in one sentence. We have, when we're doing pitches, we have about 5 different ways that we pitch, but one of them is I want to make sure whatever I'm presenting, I can do short, to the point, and powerful. So, and you can do that too. So you make sure you have those. Then you get your projects to producers, right? You use that to build a network of buyers, which is what I've just been talking about. And of course, the job is to sell scripts, get paid writing assignments, and along the way, get representation. Now, a couple of things you need to know. The landscape in this industry is changing. So I want to give you just some real quick clarity on this. I see all these people out there saying anti-AI things, and they're talking in a way like like they know what they're talking about. Please know this. WGA, in the WGA studio contract, what it basically says is the studios cannot use AI. This was the big issue. The big issue was, are the studios going to use AI to replace writers? And the studios had already come up with a couple of ways they were going to do that. So it was a big concern. I am so glad the WGA did what they did, stepped in and made a deal. But please know this, it says this in their contract. The studios cannot use AI, but the writers can. It actually specifically says the writers can use AI. This is in the contract. And you got to ask yourself, well, if AI was so bad, why are they actually saying in the contract, why did the WGA put in there that the writers can use AI, but the studios can't? And there was a reason. Studios were trying to replace writers, so they don't get to use AI. But they want their writers to be as successful as possible. They want them to be up with the times. They want them to be able to, do things quickly, all of that kind of thing. They want to give the writers every advantage they can. So just keep this in mind. When you hear somebody misstate this and say, AI is a problem in and of itself, it's not. It's not a problem for the writer. It's just not available for the studios. Okay. So we don't use AI to write. Just want you to know that. And by the way, if you use AI to actually write the script where it's writing the whole thing, you won't get a copyright when you go to the copyright office. So that's important. And I've been through the copyright office sessions where they've explained exactly what they need to see and what works and what doesn't. I've also interacted with 2 different copyright lawyers about this. So you don't use AI to write. You're the writer. That's what you bring to the table. But we do use AI to brainstorm because it creates quickly. So it allows you to brainstorm quickly and it helps you think outside the box. And I think this is incredibly important. It's like if you've ever had a brainstorm partner who saw things differently than you, and they came up with an idea you wouldn't have. It's like, okay, AI can point you outside the box and give you ways to see things that you'd never thought of, and then you apply your creativity. So I don't believe, like I had somebody the other day who said, well, AI gave me this, what do I do with it? And I said, I don't care what AI gives me. That's not I'm not trying to have AI do this. I'm just using AI to brainstorm. I'm using AI to think. I'm using AI as a creative prompt, right? So I think this is incredibly valuable. And actually, let me show you. Yeah, I'll just let me just pause just for a second and I'll show you this. So hang on just a second here and let me walk you through. This is ChatGPT. It's what AI is basically looking like right this moment. Now there are other forms of AI. What I like, by the way, about ChatGPT is you can go up here and you can click your settings and actually make sure that your project isn't being used to train AI. So there's a button that you can click. There was a lawsuit about this, and so ChatGPT had to put that in. The other AIs so far haven't put it in because they weren't sued. So because of that, I like ChatGPT better because I know that my projects aren't being used to train it. Now, I just want to walk you through how you can use this because this is one of the models we're using for one of our classes right now, and I'll show you that in a few moments. But essentially, What I am trying to do is to get it to create versions of a project. So I gave it this. A retired general stages a coup to take charge of his homeowners association, right? And so what I asked it to do basically was to give me back a title, a concept, the main conflict, a surprising twist, a deeper layer, and an intriguing world. So this is something we're going to ask you to try out. And so here it gave me 5 different versions. Now, in real life, here's what we do. You go through and you look at each one and you say, what do I like about this one? Like, I like this title, General Mayhem. I think that's pretty cool. But what do I like? And what don't I like? Anything you don't like, your job is to bring your creativity to the table. Anything you do like, well, you can keep it. Like, if I was really writing this project, I might keep this title. And then what you do is you use this to brainstorm. Now, you'll notice what I did was I had it create 5 different projects. And then now I'm going to take it to the next level. So let's use project 1. And again, each one of these are different. So it gives you different ways to look at this particular project. And now we're going to have it create characters. So again, I'm not going to say yes to all of this. I'm just going to look at it from, okay, do I like this as a name? His core traits, let's see. Oh, and you'll see role, core traits, motivation, wound. These are the 4 main things I'm asking for that make it really easy for me to see if I like this character. So this character is disciplined, authoritative, stubborn, patriotic, occasionally humorous. I would look at that and I'd say I'll use maybe 3 of those, but I need to have some kind of negative for this character. But beyond stubborn, stubborn's not enough. Stubborn kind of fits these other 2. So I'd be looking for what kind of negative, what kind of trait could this character have that would cause more problems? Here's his motivation. Do I like that? Do I not? Here's his wound. That is going to give us some emotional stuff. You'll see we've got a second character, Lisa, then a third, then a fourth. So there's my 4 characters for this particular project. Now I'm going to ask it to do something else. And afterwards, I'll explain what this is about and why we're doing all of this, because there is a reason. But essentially, what we've got at the present moment is up here, we picked a project and we picked this first one, right? Just because I like the title. I don't know what it is. In real life, I would spend 10 minutes looking at this and figuring out what I like, what I'd brainstorm, and I'd go to the next one. I'd do the same thing. And ultimately, I might have something that was a combination of 3 of these along with the ideas that I brainstormed. But let's go back down here so we can see this. So I just ask it to give me a structure. So here's the 3-act structure. It's got the opening, the inciting incident, Act 1 turning point, the midpoint, the Act 2 turning point, right? The climax and the resolution. Now, again, in real life, if I was doing this, I would then go back and look at every one of these and ask, is that the way I want it to be? And knowing that this is like a starting point, what would I want to do to take it to another level? This starts with the general retires, moves to the peaceful suburban neighborhood. Would I start it there? Or would I start it the day that he entered the HOA? Or would I start it, with him in battle? Or him in not just retiring, but it turns out he's been squeezed out and he's angry about it. So that is his wound. He just got kicked out of the military basically, and now he's going to take that out on all these people at the HOA. So I brainstormed that, and you'll notice I started with just really this line, he's retiring. And out of that, it triggered 4 different things in about 30 seconds, right? When you're doing this, it is so easy to brainstorm and be creative because it's giving you something to start with. And that's part of what I like about it. The other thing is somewhere in here, it's going to give me something that I'd never thought of that will take things outside the box. And now I can get creative with that. But I'm not going to use it verbatim the way it's presented, because that just doesn't make a difference for me. Now, part of why I showed you this was to let you know there's a lot that you can do now that you couldn't do 2 years ago. And using it as a brainstorm tool and using it as a way to be able to think outside the box and to stimulate your own creativity, I think is incredibly valuable and increases the chance that you'll be successful. Now, let's go back over here for just a moment. Okay, so if you want to sell your next script, and this is what we're doing, this strategy came from an interview I did with a writer named Mark Roseman. And Mark had this one thing he'd done that I don't know another writer who has accomplished it. He had written 9 screenplays, and 8 out of the 9 were made into movies. And when he said it to me, I'm in front of an audience. We had about 100 people in the audience. And he said 8 out of the 9 were made into movies. And I said, do you mean optioned? And he goes, no, they were actually made into movies that were in the $15 to $30 million range. 8 out of 9. Now, I know a lot of A-list screenwriters, and none of them have that record. Most of them, they're like I was talking with one 6 months ago, and I said, by the way, how many scripts did you write before you sold one? And he said 19. And I was like, 19, okay, wow. And I said, right now, what percentage of the scripts that you do write or you come up with actually get made? And he says, right now, I'm pretty much only writing things I'm being paid to. So there's a pretty good chance they'll get made. But he said over the last 3 years, only about a third of my scripts have been produced. So Mark here had an amazing strategy. So here, basically, let me just give you a strategy. You brainstorm a lot of concepts. So I interviewed him about every single step of this because I was fascinated by it. He said he brainstormed a whole bunch of concepts. You just saw us do that. We brainstormed like 5 versions there. And then you build in characters and structure. So you pick the ones you like, you build in characters and structure, right? Once you have 5 to 10 possible projects, you choose the best of all of them. So he said sometimes he would brainstorm 10 concepts to get one. Sometimes it would be an idea would pop into his mind that he'd go, wow, that's amazing. And he would brainstorm characters and structure. But he said he didn't start writing those. He said what he would do is he'd wait until he had at least 5 to 10, and then he would look at each one, look at the structure, look at the characters, look at the concepts to make a decision. Is this something he wants to write? And he said if he got 5 to 10 and he didn't see anything that he thought could sell, then he would do another 5 to 10. And he said he would keep going until he had something that he knew he could pitch, he knew he could sell, he knew was strong enough to be able to make it happen. So at that point, then you write it at a professional level once you make the choice. Now, I'm telling you this for two reasons. One is because 99% of the writers that I have talked with that are not in the industry, the standard strategy that I hear over and over and over, I'll say, they'll tell me their pitch and I'll say, so what caused you to choose to write this? And they'll go, well, an idea popped into my head and I just started creating it. Right. And sometimes they were just creating characters and then it turned into something else. And now they're writing scenes and all of that. And they wrote it without ever comparing it to something else to make a choice. Mark chose not to do that. And the reason he chose not to do it was because his first script didn't sell. Once he started using this process, every script he wrote from that point on sold and got made. So there's a huge difference. Now, I'm telling you this because you're probably thinking about what's your next script. What are you going to do? How are you going to make sure it has a real chance? You know, so the questions really are, what's the level of quality of writing that you want? Right? Think about it for a moment. For your next script, how good do you want that writing to be? How well do you want it to do in contest if you're entering contest? And what do you want producers and agents to do when they read that script? Now, again, this implies the possibility that you're going to come up with a great concept. You're going to create a great project. And that's how we're working with writers now. And let me just tell you what happens on this. This is the program. I'm going to walk you through a whole bunch of stuff having to do with what you're going to see that will make you a professional writer, because we do it in a very different way than what most people do that keeps them from succeeding. So the first part of this is, as for anybody who signs up, as soon as you sign up, we will send you the prompts that I just used so you can create projects. And your job will be, over the next 4 or 5 weeks, to create at least 5 to 8 projects. And you're going to do it just like you just saw me. Now, that whole process, by the way, I could actually, if I was just flying through it, I could do it in about 5 minutes. But if I'm doing it for real, I would actually, at each step, I would stop and I would take the time to look at it and to brainstorm with it and to mark out all the stuff I don't want and to keep the things that I do like. Then I would move to the next step and make it better. And then move to the next step and make it even better. So you'll end up with a great concept. You'll understand what makes these characters deep, what makes them something that's perfect for your story. You'll have 4 of them. And then you will have a structure that you have gone over in depth. You will do that with 5 to 8 projects in between now and the point at which the class starts. And that way you are bringing in the best of 8. So you're coming in with the best project you've ever created in your life, and it works. And by the way, as you go through the process that I'm talking about, you will get better and better and better at creating projects. Now, this program, I want you to notice what we do that's different, because our question when we created this was, how do we make it as easy as possible for people to sell their scripts? So it starts with module 1, what's your pitch? Instead of waiting to the end of the script like everybody else does, we're going to start with making sure that you've got a pitch that can work, right? What will sell your script? You're going to come in with that project, you'll turn it into a pitch. So now you know from the very beginning that you have something you can pitch. You have something that is interesting, it's compelling. It could get a producer to say yes. Then we go to module 2, where we take the pitch to the outline. And we do this, it's a short version outline to make sure that the story works. Once you have a strong pitch, then you need to know this. Then from there, then we go to the characters that will attract actors. So here, you're basically going to be creating actors thinking about how do you sell an actor on the project. Remember, this is all stuff that came from 800 interviews I did with producers, agents, and managers. I talked with 23 different actors, producers, the producers that ran their production companies, and I found out exactly what they needed to say yes to working on your project. So that's what Module 3 is. Module 4, now we'll take the outline you created here, and the job is to make it incredible. And what we do on this that's different than everybody else, most people try to put as much information as they can in an outline. We don't do that. What we do is we look for what's going to make every single scene as interesting and as compelling as possible. Also, you're going to build 5 different levels at which this story happens, and it's so much easier to do that in the outline. So if you have an incredible outline, that equals an incredible script. Now then, we'll go into Module 5. We'll do the high-speed writing. How do you write this draft so fast? You will be blown away. We'll give you a series of high-speed writing rules because this industry values fast writing. You can meet deadlines, right? You get more scripts written and all of that kind of thing. One more thing before I go any further. If you're going to do a writing assignment, all of this stuff you will need. If you're working with a producer to do a writing assignment, this is how they think. They're going to want to see a pitch first, then they're going to want to see a structure, then they're going to want to see an outline and characters, right? And what this does by the time you get down here and you hand them an outline that's the best outline they've ever read, they're going to want to work with you from now on. Now, we're halfway through here. Module 6, then we do draft 2, and we do something here again that's different than everybody else. Most people go through and try to smooth out their draft. What we're doing is we're looking for the problems, the big picture problems, and I will give you exact strategies for solving every one of them. And how we've done this, by the way, I'll give you a problem solution grid that has all the problems listed that were in 90% of the scripts that I saw, and then it has a solution for every single one of them. So you'll just go into your script, you'll find where that problem exists. If you have a structure problem, you'll go straight to what to do with that. If you have a character problem, you go to what to do with that. And it will make it incredibly easy for you to end up with a second draft that is a problem-free script. Module 3 then, or excuse me, Module 7, it's draft 3. And here you're going to elevate the quality of the most important parts. Now, we have a problem-free draft here, right? It's problem-free, but our job here is to make the structure twice as good, the lead characters twice as good, the scenes twice as interesting. And by the time you're done with this one, you'll stand back and go, oh my God, this at draft 3 may be the best script I've ever written. Then draft 4, now we go to amazing dialogue. And you'll notice draft 4 and 5, draft 5 is wordsmithing. We don't go to those until we've got all this other stuff working. There are things beneath the surface that need to work. And if you get them working, you're in business. And then finally, the advanced marketing campaigns. Here, this is about getting your scripts read. How do you get in the door? We're going to show you how to build a network of producers, agents, and managers to read your scripts. Also, how to do the 4 most important pitches, and you will create those 4 pitches for your project. And the reason we have 4 pitches is because there's 4 main circumstances under which somebody might pitch. And if you don't have one of them, that might be the one you get caught off guard on. So it's a 6-month program. You are going to learn all professional level strategies, which will have you being such a much stronger writer. In the meantime, I also want you to know, you'll go through about 100 lessons. We've got 38 mastery videos in there that will help you, and 50 high-level AI prompts. Tonight, I demonstrated 1 of those prompts. Even though I did put in 3 things, that was 1 prompt. We are really, really good at this AI stuff. I've got a development team that's all they think about. How can we create AI prompts for writers that will change their lives? So if you want to take this adventure, let me give you a special to make it easy. This class starts on September 23rd. And that gives you a little over a month and a half or so here to go through and create your 8 projects. And you can create as many as you want. If you want to create 10 or 15, we had one guy create 30, and then he picked the best. But the job is to come in with one that you love and that has a real chance of selling. Now, so again, the date's September 23rd. Here's the special. And this is, we're kind of far out. Plus I want to get people moving forward now to be able to make things happen and take advantage of this career shift that's going on out there. For the first 10 people only, you get in for $649, which is half price. If you need a payment plan, you can do that for $125 a month for 6 months. All you've got to do is come down here, write down this link. For the half price version, it's bit.ly/SU-WIM. This is /screenwriting writing movies. So just write that down, bit.ly/SU-WIM. Put that in a browser where you normally put a web address, click return, and sign up, go through the process, and you're with us. Tomorrow, I will send you that free lesson that walks you through exactly how to do what you just saw. And you'll start doing that to create 8 or more projects. If you need the payment plan, just write this down, bit.ly/WIM-payments. No caps, no spaces. Just write that down, put it in the browser where you normally put a web address, click return, and come join us. Now, wherever you are, whatever your situation right now, do something that will move you forward. This opportunity, I believe, is going to last for the next 8-9 months, maybe a year. So coming into this class is going to have you coming out of it with a project that is the best script you've ever written in your lifetime, and you will understand and be taking action like a pro does. You will know what you're doing. We have had people who have gone through this program who said they started out being the worst writer in their writers group, and 6 months later, they were by far the best writer in their writers group. We've had people who have gone through this who have won all the major contests. We've had 2 people win nickel. We've had people win Page, Austin, Final Draft, the Big Break contest. So if you're wanting to do contests, this will make a huge difference for you. But even more important, this will give you professional level ways to express what you're creating. It'll make everything you write from this point on stronger, whether it's scripts, TV series, or books. And it will give you a level of understanding. So when you talk with anybody in this industry, they will see you as a pro. So if that's something that you want, come join us. You will love, first, you'll love going through the process and learning every single day. But second, once you get out, you'll love how producers recognize the quality of your writing, how people around you respect what you have done. And this is a chance for you to take something and become the best you've ever become at anything in your life, and then take it out there and have a real adventure. It is so much different when producers see writing that is amazing. It makes them sit up and want to work with that person. It makes it so much easier for you to feel confident and strong as you do that. So again, just write down the link that fits what you'd like to do here, put it in your browser, and come join us. I promise you, you will absolutely love this. With that, I want to say thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Hope you already got something valuable, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in class. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U, wishing you the absolute best with your writing.